to Prabhupada and Lord Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra Ki Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gauranga Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So welcome everyone for the Sunday morning session on the science of self-realization. So today we are bringing to you a very interesting topic, which is actually a discussion with scientists, about scientists basically. The topic is called The Tiny World of Modern Science. So this is actually a very wonderful conversation which happens between Prabhupada and his disciples. Amongst his disciples, Prabhupada had many doctorate disciples who had got a doctorate degree in the different fields of science. So one such doctorate scientist disciple who had taken doctorate in the field of chemistry and biochemistry is talking. There is Dr. Singh is going to ask some questions representing himself as a scientist, other scientific community, and Prabhupada is going to give the Vedic perspective in this wonderful dialogue, right? So such talks and conversations generally used to happen when Prabhupada used to go in the early morning walks. Prabhupada had the habit of walking every day, wherever he was in the morning times, for almost 45 minutes to 1 hour. So during that time, devotees used to pose themselves as a scientist or a philosopher or whatever from the material point of view and pose questions to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada used to give them the Vedic perspective, the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavata perspective very wonderfully, and make them understand how the so-called, the leaders of society are having a vision which is not actually in line with the Vedic understanding, because of which so much of chaos and so much of other misunderstanding is going on in the entire society. So one such conversation happened in America, Los Angeles, when Prabhupada was there in 1975. So this conversation is basically this particular session and a subsequent few more sessions will be actually a conversation between Prabhupada and his disciples, and one disciple specifically playing the role of a scientist. So all these discussions, what we are having is by the inspiration of Prabhupada, who has so mercifully given us these teachings in a recorded form for us, and we are able to access them and understand the true perspective of the Vedic understanding. So as I told you, this is a morning walk, the April of 1973 at Venice Beach, Los Angeles. Srila Prabhupada discusses modern science and its high priests. High priest basically means the scientists, because in the modern day, people are very much regard the scientists as somebody whom we have to blindly accept. Right? So scientists say they claim to have millions of dollars worth of knowledge. But if you ask them a question, they simply give you a post-dated check. This is Prabhupada's statement we see in subsequent our discussions. Why should we accept it? They cannot even produce the spear of grass, though they are biological or chemical, through their biological or chemical experiments. Nonetheless, they are claiming that this creation is produced by some chemical or biological method. Why does no one question all this nonsense? So this is a very wonderful preface which we have to begin with. We have begun. Basically, Prabhupada is further in his the course of discussions, but the context here, what subject matter we're going to discuss is Scientists claim that they can produce life, right? So Prabhupada's challenge is that if you can produce life with your chemicals, with experiments, and all this, various things which you are claiming yourself to be, then why don't you produce a small mosquito, which you have not done so far? So we are having this, discussion now, which is almost 50 years ago. Prabhupada already had refuted these points. Now, 50 years further, we can say, oh, we advanced so much in science and technology. But um, having a living entity created is not in our powers. So basically, Prabhupada was trying to point out the fallacy of the modern day science with regard to their ignorance about God and the various aspects with regard to how they make a wrong propaganda about atheism. Rather, the true existence of God they want to deny. That's what Prabhupada is trying to attack in these various talks and different discussions, right? So basically, the scientists claim that we can produce life or we can create life is a wrong, wrong stand or a wrong understanding. Prabhupada always was challenging such things when scientists used to claim. So this Prabhupada is going to begin the conversation and gives us a very wonderful preface telling that how matter actually comes from life, not that life is coming from matter. No, other way around it is. The whole world of science and technology is running on the false idea that life is born from matter. It is what Bhagavad Gita also Lord Krishna says. The demoniac people think that it's simply a combination of two male and female entities coming together and life is produced. Yes, life is produced through that system or process, but there is a higher arrangement, right? And scientists think, so with the scientific way of understanding and technological way of progress, life can be born from matter, right? This is what they are claiming. So Prabhupada says we cannot allow this nonsensical theory to go unchallenged. Because we are supposed to be rational entities, rational animals, nonsense. As human beings are supposed to have this rationality. We are supposed to question whether this is a fact or whatever they claim, is it verified? So this is what Prabhupada is trying to make us understand. Prabhupada makes the statement, life does not come from matter, matter is generated from life. A very important revelation. And the life, what we see around us, is not that it has come from combination of different chemicals or matter coming together and life has produced. This is the way education is being given now. At a particular combination, at a particular point of time, matter come together and life is produced, which is actually a wrong theory. So Prabhupada is making this wonderful statement that life does not come from matter. Matter comes from life, right? So this is the basis on which the entire discussion goes on, right? Actually, life comes from life when matter comes from life. Very wonderful. Analogies are given, examples are given to understand this point. So Prabhupada says it's not simply a theory, it is a fact. How it is so, we'll see as we move forward in our discussions. Science is based on an incorrect theory. Therefore, all its calculations and conclusions are wrong. And people are suffering because of this. All of us know, we are all studying in school and colleges. If you are science students, mathematics students, one mistake somewhere in the whole equation or calculation will give you a wrong result, right? Assumption of something else. So likewise, Prabhupada says scientists are presuming that life comes from matter is a wrong understanding, a wrong conclusion. So on this premise, whatever they give their different theories is all false. So the calculations and conclusions are always wrong, and because of which Prabhupada says people are suffering. Prabhupada is concerned about the society's welfare. If you are propagating wrong things because of which there will be wrong understanding, then definitely your the truth is actually hidden, not given to the people. When all these mistaken modern scientific theories are corrected, people will become happy. It's something very basic Prabhupada is trying to address here. People want to be happy, but you are living in a wrong or false understanding with regard to something else is to be true. That is actually wrong, which is actually making you, go through so many problems. So when all these mistaken modern scientific theories are corrected, people will become happy. Prabhupada says. The fact. Just like you go to a doctor and the diagnosis of the disease is wrongly done, and you're given some other medicine, but not for the actual disease what you have. What happens? You will be only aggravating the disease what you have, and your disease will never get cured, and you will be more and more unhappy. Likewise, so from the Bhagavad Gita's perspective, from Vedic perspective, our disease right now is this sickness. What we have now is this body. It is actually going through the repeated cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. We are going through this disease called material sickness. Right? Repeatedly, we are getting bodies. Repeatedly, we are going through the old age, disease, and death finally. So this is our problem right now. This has to be cured. And so long this body is there, Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, so long the body is there, you are going to experience distress or miseries. It's miserable. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. This is the statement Lord Krishna makes in Bhagavad Gita. This is a place of misery, and this is a non-permanent place, and whatever you endeavor here is only going to, in your own way, is only going to further entangle you. Right? So this fact has to be realized. That we are spirit soul and we have to endeavor in the spiritual direction. That is what is going to really make us happy. So further, Prabhupada says, so we must challenge the scientists and defeat them. Otherwise, they will mislead the entire society. See, it is very important because somebody has to do this role or play this role. Otherwise, people will be always cheated. Recently, I was came across one newspaper, one news wherein it is told that the pharmaceutical industries are actually, taking all the public in the world on a ride, in one sense. They're producing so many, medicines and tablets, all these things, that actually, it is one more big scam going on, and that is being promoted by the government, by the different, doctors, and this big lobby behind it. Right? So, in one sense, Prabhupada says, unless it is all these scams are busted, people will be cheated again and again. So that's why Prabhupada says, somebody has to do it. So Prabhupada says, as an organization from Iskcon, Hare Krishna movement, we should challenge them and defeat them so that people will be actually getting the right understanding. Otherwise, misleading society will only be unhappy, misled society. So Prabhupada is further going to tell how matter is perishable and spirit is eternal. Prabhupada says matter goes through 6 phases of transformation. What are they? It looks like as though when we are born, or our bodies, we are born, our body, we get a body, just small body, baby body. Then that baby body grows. Then it is, it is stays for some time. Then it also produces byproducts in the form of children. And slowly, old age sets in, dwindling, and finally death. So these are called Shad Vikara in Sanskrit, or 6 changes which any living entity who takes the body will have these transformations. Right? So Prabhupada says, but the life within matter, the spirit soul is eternal. It goes through no such changes. Which is a very basic understanding which is presented in the Bhagavad Gita from the very beginning. That you as a person is within the body. You are not the body. Deha, Dehi. Body is called Deha, and Dehi is the person within the body. Prabhupada gives a very nice analogy to explain this understanding. It's like when I say, this is my hand, or my head, my ears, different parts of the body, I assign it to one person, my mind. I don't say I hand or I head. No. This whole body is belonging to one person. That person is the spirit soul. So the modern way of understanding is that this particular knowledge is lacking. They're completely ignorant of this aspect, that I am spirit soul. They're all mistakenly going on with the understanding that I am this body. There's no concept of soul. It's called bodily conception of life. But I am within the body, spirit soul. This is the basic lesson which Krishna begins in the Bhagavad Gita. I am spirit soul. I am within the body. And this soul is eternal. It will not go through any such changes. Life appears to be developing and decaying, but actually it is simply passing through each of these 6 phases until the material body can no longer be maintained. You see, that's what is going on. The 6 changes. Any body you take, any living entity's body, it goes through these 6 changes. Right? And when this body becomes useless, it will take one more body, because soul is eternal. I as a person is eternal. I'm only taking on different dresses. Very important concept, important principle which Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita. Excuse me. When the old body dies, the soul enters a new body. Right? So what happens to you when this body goes through the final aspect called death? With death, you don't die as a person. You continue your journey to take one more body. Right? Old body is worn out body, or is become useless for you. So new body is given through the arrangement of material nature as directed by Supreme Lord Krishna. And the soul enters a new body. When our clothing is old and worn, we change it. Similarly, one day our bodies become old and useless, and we pass on to a new body. It's a very important principle which is explained in the Bhagavad Gita very nicely by Krishna. And he says that Vasamsi Jiranani Yatha Vihaya. It's like today, I'm wearing one shirt. It becomes old, it's worn out, and I change the shirt. Likewise, when this body becomes old and useless, then we get one more body. That is what we as persons, as individuals, as souls, we are going through in our journey of life. So we should not come to the understanding like how modern day scientists or philosophers or thinkers say, once this death happens to a person, that this body ends, then everything is over. No. Body only ends, but you'll get one more new body. So very nicely, Prabhupada explains to the Bhagavad Gita's statements. In the 2nd chapter, 13th verse, Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara, tatha dehantara praptihi. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. Very simple, very clear. The very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling this. Right? The soul is right now embodied, which means it is having a body now. And this body is going through transformations, which we have understood just now. 6 transformations. From babyhood to boyhood, boyhood to youthhood, youthhood to middle age, like this, old age. So what happens? The soul, which is eternal, is just transforming or rather transmigrating from one body to another body. And at the time when this body becomes old and useless, it takes another body. Right? The soul similarly passes into another body at death. One more statement in Bhagavad Gita. Later, the same chapter, Krishna says, Antavanta ime deha nitya shokta saririna. This means that only the material body of the indestructible and eternal entity is subject to destruction. Very clear understanding Krishna is giving in Bhagavad Gita. That this body, whatever you do, will not stay. It's going to be destroyed. It's going to antavanta ime deha. Right? Whereas the soul within the body is nitya. Right? It's a very important principle which we have to clearly understand. Right? The body, whatever you do, will not stay. It's going to be destroyed today or tomorrow. Whereas the soul is never subject to destruction. Avinashi. Right? The soul is avinashi. The body is vinashi. Antavant. This material body is perishable, but the life within the body is nitya, eternal. It's a very important understanding which we have to constantly keep meditating. In fact, even Chanakya Pandit says, Smara nitya anityatam. He says, we have to understand that this body is anitya, or it is temporary. It's not going to stay for long. It's going to leave us today or tomorrow. But you as a person is eternal. Right? So it is very, is the principle with which the whole Vedic understanding is based on. That I, a spirit soul, is eternal, and the body is perishable. Material body is perishable. So very nicely, the Vedic scriptures give us the measurement of the soul. According to the Vedas, the measurement of the soul within the body is 1/10,000th part of the tip of a hair. Tip of the hair is divided into 10,000 parts. One such part is the size of the soul. Just to make us understand why this explanation, why this particular statement is made, is to give us understanding how soul is so minute, it's practically invisible to our material eyes. Right? That is what it is. It is invisible, it is inconceivable, it's beyond our limited understanding. So Prabhupada says it's very small. In fact, it is atomic. Yet because of that atomic spiritual energy, my body is working. Right? You may be driving a big aeroplane, but the aeroplane will be very huge. But the pilot within the aeroplane is a person. He may be so small person, but he is the one who is driving the whole aeroplane. Likewise, whatever size of the body it is, say an ant has a very small body, elephant has a big body, but in every body, the soul is the same. And is very small, is atomic, 1/10,000th the part of the tip of the hair. And because of this atomic spiritual energy, any living entity having body that body is working. Without the soul, the body is dead. Prabhupada is giving one more analogy. Is it so difficult to understand? Suppose a man thinks himself very stout and strong. Why is he stout and strong? Only because within his body is a small spiritual spark. Right? A bodybuilder, very strong person is thinking, I am very strong. As long as the soul is there, you will think like that. Once the soul is out, you have that same body is lying there. It is of no use. Right? But as the spiritual spark is gone, his body dies and his strength and vigor becomes void. A very important point of contemplation. The difference between a living body and a dead body. Right? Dead body, soul is not there. Because of soul's presence, the body was showing its vitality, its actions, its different ways of interactions with other people and other things in the world. Once the spirit spark is gone, the body is no more functioning. Right? His strength and vigor becomes void. If scientists say that matter is the cause and origin of life, then let them bring just one dead man back to life by injecting him with chemicals. But this they cannot do. It's a very, wonderful challenge Prabhupada is making. Everybody, every day, so many, people are dying. Nobody want to die, right? But point is, death is something which is sure, as sure as death. But given an opportunity, given a chance, we would like to prolong our life, or if there's a provision, something like, no, I can go on forever. Very good. I would like to do that. Because as spirit soul, I have this quality of eternally existing. But this body is the problem. This body is actually a big hindrance for me. So this is what Prabhupada is telling very nicely here, that so far we don't have any such proof or a recorded, experiment done that, as scientists say, matter is the cause and origin of life. Let a dead man be brought to life. Dead man be brought back to life by injecting some chemicals, because if you say matter means it's chemicals, that is what is causing life. You bring this, because just like one place Prabhupada says, if you say blood, because of blood corpuscles, RBC, red blood corpuscles, and so many other chemicals, life is going on. Then you have so many chemicals which are red in color. Why don't you inject those chemicals and bring a dead man back to life? This they cannot do. So Prabhupada is going on to explain now with wonderful analogies, the next portion of our discussion, how Prabhupada says soul is actually a small god. We have some specific mystic powers. So this devotee, Dr. Singh, a disciple of Prabhupada, he is posing as a scientist, he is asking questions. Since scientists cannot see the spirit soul, they say its existence is very doubtful. Spirit soul is so small, and it is inconceivable by our material senses. Right? Just like scientists may have all the arrangements in the theater, operation theater, and practically a person whom they are operating, he may pass away or he may die at any moment in our operation theater. If their arrangements of different instruments and different apparatus, through that, if they can capture what happens when a dead body, when a living body is becoming a dead body, that spirit soul, where it is gone. Because they're not able to capture the spirit soul through their instruments, scientists say that the spirit soul existence is doubtful. For the modern day scientists, everything they have to see. But this is not what the Vedic understanding gives us the proper perspective. Everything cannot be seen. Just like even in the modern day world, you see electromagnetic waves, you cannot see, you can only perceive them through specific instruments, right? Some specific gadgets only you can get the signals. I cannot see electromagnetic waves. I cannot see so many radiations in the whole spectrum of electromagnetic waves, right? So it is only that through specific gadgets, specific instruments, you can perceive them or understand that their existence. So many sounds are there. Only specific frequency of sound I can hear, right? So likewise, Prabhupada is telling, in fact, the scientists' claim is that because I cannot see soul, so the very existence of soul is doubtful. Prabhupada says, how they can see it? It is so small to see. Where is such seeing power? So Prabhupada is going to explain to us through different analogies how scientists' way of seeing everything is not what we are supposed to go. We are not supposed to understand. We are supposed to understand that way. No, there is another way of understanding existence of soul. So scientists claim, I still want to see by some means. Only then I can see. Only then I can believe its existence. Otherwise, I don't believe. So Prabhupada gives a nice example. If you inject just 1 grain of deadly poison into someone, he immediately dies. Poison is injected, death is very quick. No one can see the poison or how it acts, but the poison is acting nevertheless. Right? A small, bit of poison is good enough to make a person die. So nobody can see how the poison is acting, but poison is acting nevertheless. In the same way, the Vedas say that because the minute particle called the soul is within the body, the whole body is working nicely. A very nice analogy which Prabhupada gave now. The active principle of the poison is so great that injection of the poison, immediately the person dies. Similarly, because of the presence of the spirit soul in the body is working. As soon as spirit soul leaves the body, all of us have seen practically when the soul is not there, the body is dead. All the bodily limbs, all the bodily organs, everything is intact, but the soul is not there. Right? If I pinch myself, I immediately feel it because I am conscious all over my skin. The soul's energy, known as consciousness, is spread all over the body. So this is the symptom of presence of the soul. A very nice example. This is actually in the Bhagavad Gita. This example is given to make us understand that just like you're sitting in a room and from your window you're seeing, it is bright light. So with that bright light, you can at least understand that, oh, now it is morning, sun has risen. Likewise, the presence of the soul within the body. How do you know that soul is present? Because of the consciousness what we have, the awareness what we have. The example which Prabhupada has given here, if I pinch my body, I can experience pain because this is because of my awareness or consciousness in my body. And how this consciousness is coming? What is the source? Source is the spirit soul. Dead body, if you pinch, even if you kick the dead body will protest? No. Which means the soul has left the body. This is the point. This is a very wonderful example to understand the presence of the soul. But as soon as the soul is absent, which is the case when my body dies, you can take the same skin and cut it and chop it. No one will protest. As medical students, in the first year, when anatomy class is going on, you are given a dead body to dissect and understand the various arrangements of the different, arteries, veins, nerves, and the different bodily organs. How are they situated? How are they, sitting? So all this, is very nicely, to be studied. A dead body is given. And students go through whole 1 year with a dead body to, understand every part of the body. Because tomorrow they're going to become doctors and treat the patients. They have to know which part is lying. Right? So that dead body is chopped, cut, every part is cut, but there is no protest. Right? So why is this simple thing so hard to understand? Is this not detecting spirit? So Prabhupada is telling why we have become so dull-headed. Are you not able to understand the simple logic between the living body and a dead body? Right? So just this much understanding is good enough to know that spirit is present within our body. What is this aspect of telling, seeing? You're seeing practically, but you're not able to understand the true essence of it. So scientists say that the chemicals are the cause of life. Right? The Prabhupada is going to give a nice analogy of a dead tree. Because scientists claim is what? Life comes from matter. Whereas the Vedic perspective is Life comes from life. Matter also comes from life. So the scientist is putting his next challenge. Okay, maybe soul is present, but what about God? Prabhupada says, first of all, let us understand the soul. The soul is a small God. God, if you understand the sample, then you can understand the whole. Very nice understanding Prabhupada is giving. Just like when you are cooking rice, not that you have to check every grain of rice whether it is cooked or not. One grain, if you just take it and try to test whether it is cooked or not, that is good enough. So Prabhupada says we are all sample gods, small gods. Just understand our existence, our different various attributes. This will make you understand the big, the whole. Now, Prabhupada is pointing out, they're all walking, as I told you, they are walking on the beach. Then Prabhupada is pointing out a dead tree with his cane. Prabhupada says, this is matter. Formerly, leaves and twigs were growing from this tree. Why are they not growing now? Can the scientists answer this question? We also come across sometimes trees which are dead. No more growth happens. No leaves, no fruits. Nothing comes out. Right? It's all standing. So one devotee who's accompanying in that morning walk, he says, they would say the chemical composition has changed. So this, all devotees are trying to take the role of different scientists and put their various arguments. The Prabhupada is, from the Vedic perspective, gives his answers. He says, all right, then if they are so advanced in knowledge of chemistry, they must supply the proper chemicals to make branches and leaves grow again. Right? You say that chemical composition has changed. Okay, please inject proper chemicals and make it grow again. One more devotee comes up with one more argument as a scientist. He says, knowledge means that one must be able to demonstrate his theory. They should be able to show in their laboratories that life is caused by a combination of chemicals. Actually, he's taking the stand of a devotional point of view. You're telling, yes, combination of chemicals is producing life. And please prove it, in your laboratory, by experiment. That's what knowledge simply should not be theoretical knowledge. It should be practical, demonstrable activity, right? Prabhupada acknowledges that, yes, the scientific method means first observation, and then hypothesis, then demonstration. In a systematic way. It's like H2O is two molecules of two atoms of hydrogen and two atoms of one atom oxygen will combine and form a molecule called H2O. The theory, right? Then hypothesis is made. Then demonstration of that in the laboratory. The two atoms of hydrogen and oxygen are combined. We're able to see H2O, water. So likewise, observation, then hypothesis, and then demonstration. So we are seeing water. What is this water? The water is made up of these elements called hydrogen and oxygen. In a particular combination, they become water. So like this should be demonstrable. But these scientists cannot demonstrate their hypothesis. They simply observe and then speak nonsense. What is their hypothesis? Matter, rather they say that life is coming from matter. That is their hypothesis, but it is not a fact. They are not able to prove this actually. And they're only trying to propagate this wrong type of a theory. That life comes from chemicals. But all the chemicals that were there when the tree was living are still present. And life energy is also there. Right? So Prabhupada is trying to tell how when the tree was living, when the spirit soul was there, all these chemicals were intact. And even now those chemicals are there. Difference between living body and a dead body. Living tree and a dead tree. Right? Life energy was also there when the tree was living. There are thousands of microbes in the tree, and they're all living entities. No one can claim that the life energy is lacking in the body of this tree. Right? The tree, what happens? If the entity, the spirit soul in the tree is gone, doesn't mean the other entities which have taken shelter of the tree are all dead. No, that's what Prabhupada want to say. There are thousands of other microbes in the tree, and they're all living entities. No one can claim the energy is lacking in the tree. So the scientist is asking one more question. But what about the life energy of the tree itself? Prabhupada is trying to point out, yes, that is the difference. The living force is individual, and the particular living entity which was the tree has left. So it's a very important principle you have to understand, that every living entity or every body we see, if it is working or acting, is because of the presence of one spirit soul in that body. It is actually activating and animating the whole body. Right? That is the difference. The living force is individual, and the particular living entity, which was a tree, has left. It's taken one more body now. This must be the case, since all the chemicals that are necessary to support life are still there, yet the tree is dead. So Prabhupada is trying to make a very nice understanding here with all the devotees there. He says that actually the soul in this tree, the soul which is there in the form of the tree, that soul has left in that from that body of a tree. Whereas other entities which are anyway there, surrounding that tree, in the tree, are all still living. That's why it is dead now. So one more example Prabhupada gives with regard to make us understand. Apartment example. Here is another example. Suppose I am living in an apartment and then I leave it. I am gone, but many other living entities remain there, ants, spiders, and so forth. Right? I may say I am the owner of this apartment, but when I leave the apartment, other entities are still living there. It is not true that simply because I have left the apartment, it can no longer accommodate life. Other living entities are still living there. It is simply that I, an individual living being, have left. Right? So, always it's the case. It's like in our body also right now. We say our body. You leave the body, but there are so many millions of entities within the body. So many germs are there. So many, sometimes worms are sitting. Just like sometimes when you have some problem with your bowels, there is some worms in your intestine. Right? There's some medicines doctors give. But the worms are are taken out. So like this, this body is the shelter of so many other entities. They're all individual souls again. But you, as the owner of the body, spirit soul, if you leave the body, it doesn't mean other entities also die. No. The chemicals in the tree are like the apartment. They are simply the environment for the individual living force, the soul, to act through. So Prabhupada is trying to tell, scientists claim, chemicals are still there. Prabhupada is trying to explain this point, that chemicals in the tree are like the apartment. They are simply the environment for the individual living force, the soul, to act through. At least apartment is a arrangement for a particular person to live. And of course, apartment has so many other entities also within it. Like that. The person lives in the apartment. We have cockroaches, we have lizards, so many entities in the apartment. The scientists will never be able to produce life in the chemical laboratory. That is the very wonderful statement Prabhupada is making. You say that chemicals are producing life, but no, you can never produce this. Scientists will never be able to produce life in the chemical laboratory. So what is that missing point which scientists are lacking? Is that they are missing the origin of the chemicals, where from these chemicals came. Very nicely Prabhupada brings out the point. The so-called scientists say that the life begins from chemicals. This is their claim. This is their hypothesis. But the real question is, where have the chemicals come from? Chemicals are simply falling from sky, or somewhere it is all simply just come about automatically. This question they don't ask. The chemicals come from life, and this means that the life has mystic power. Very wonderful revelation. The chemicals which each of us have is all because of the spirit soul within our body. His presence makes the whole activity of the body function in a specific manner. Nice examples Prabhupada gives. For example, an orange tree contains many oranges, and each orange contains chemicals, citric acid and others. Right? When a tree is living, orange tree, for example, it will produce so many oranges, and each orange is full of so many chemicals and micronutrients. So where have these chemicals come from? Obviously, they have come from the life within the tree. A dead orange tree will not produce any oranges, right? So like this, so Prabhupada is going to tell us how the chemicals or the ingredients that you say is the cause of life is not coming from matter. It is because it's when the living entity is having a body, that will produce so many chemicals. The scientists are missing the origin of the chemicals, where from the chemicals are have originated basically. They have started their investigation from the chemicals, but they cannot identify the origin of the chemicals, which means the investigation of scientists has begun from at one point. They're not getting into depth of the matter with regard to where from, who has produced these chemicals. Very nice. One more example Prabhupada gives. It's like you say, a scientist has discovered the law of gravitation. Newton was sitting below an apple tree, an apple fell on his head, and because of which, this law of gravitation. But the scientists have to go one step forward or beyond. That who has made this law of gravitation? They're only observing what is going on in the material world, the laws, how they're working, and they make an hypothesis, right? So, but the Vedic perspective is all these laws are not automatically working. They have an origin. They are created by somebody else. They're created by a person. Just like if a big establishment is running, doesn't mean that the establishment is running automatically or without any personal intervention. It has an arrangement made by somebody or other one person who has designed this. That's what it means. So scientists are lacking this particular perspective with regard to where from the chemicals have come, who has originated, who is the origin of these chemicals. This aspect they are missing. So Prabhupada says chemicals come from supreme life, God. He is the origin of all these chemicals. This point they are missing. Just as the living body of a man produces many chemicals, the supreme life, the supreme Lord is producing all the chemicals found in the atmosphere, in the water, in humans, animals, and in the earth. This is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Aham sarvasya prabhavaha. Everything is emanating from me. The living entities and the different various ingredients which we see in this material world, different permutation combinations, everything is emanating from Krishna. He is the source, Supreme Lord. And that is called mystic power. Unless the mystic power of the Supreme Lord is accepted, there is no solution to the problem of the origin of life. Right? So we have to understand that Lord Krishna's inconceivable energies, mystic energies, Yoga Shakti is acting. And that is what is going to solve all our problems of so many confusions and wrong understandings of regard to origin of life. Otherwise, we'll go on theorizing and hypothesizing so many things without proper understanding. So Prabhupada is further going to explain how this mystic power is acting in us as small sparks. As Prabhupada says, we are small gods. And how the mystic power in God is acting in a very, very wonderful way. Scientists again posing a question, the devotee, the scientist. The scientists will reply that they cannot believe in mystic power. Prabhupada says, but they must explain the origin. But they must explain the origin of the chemicals. Because for scientists, everything is seeing. Seeing is believing for them. But Prabhupada says, let them explain the origin of chemicals, where from the chemicals have come from. That point is missing in your whole analysis. Prabhupada says, Anyone can see that an ordinary tree is producing many chemicals. They cannot deny it, right? So many, ingredients or chemicals, which are all, where from they are coming? They are not they are not simply, manufactured in a factory. No, they are all existing in its different forms, in their elemental forms. And that is what scientists have discovered, right? But all these are coming from a source. Maybe it is tree source or the mountain source, or like this. Already, these are all existing in the whole creation. Hmm. But how does it produce? How does it produce them? Since they cannot answer this, they must accept that the living force has mystic power. It's like we saw the orange tree producing citric acid, or any tree for that matter has specific trees produces specific chemicals or specific ingredients. So who's producing that, right? It's because scientists cannot answer them. They have to understand that the living force has mystic power. Mystic power means power which is beyond your conception, beyond your limited intelligence. Some power is acting. Even in our own body, you see, I cannot explain how my fingernail is growing out of my finger. It is beyond the power of my brain. Right? You say the fingernail is dead matter, but how it is growing from your body? Every now and then you have to trim your fingernails because you, as a person, is within the body. The fingernails are growing. A dead body, the fingernail doesn't grow. Right? Hair doesn't grow. In other words, it is growing by the inconceivable potency or achintya shakti. When Prabhupada says mystic power, it means there is some energy within the living entity that is making the whole thing happening. Achintya shakti. But if achintya shakti or the inconceivable energy exists in ordinary being, imagine how much achintya shakti God possesses. If an ordinary person like you and me have so much of mystic powers, like nails are growing, hair is growing, even a spider can produce whole big web around it. And again, wind it up again. A small spider can have so much power. How much power Krishna will have to create, maintain, and annihilate? That's what Prabhupada is saying. Lord has unlimited achintya shakti or inconceivable energy. The difference between God and me is that although I have the same potencies as God, I can produce only a small quantity of chemicals, whereas Lord can produce enormous quantities. That's the difference. I am a small God. Lord Krishna he's unlimited God. That is the difference. God's power is unlimited. For the Prabhupada says, I can produce a little water in the form of perspiration, maybe few ml, but God can produce oceans and seas. So he said, the ocean and sea water is actually perspiration of Lord's body. Right? We can produce maybe half a liter maybe during summer, but Lord can produce ocean. That's why sea water and ocean water is salty. Why? Because it's perspiration of Lord Krishna. Analysis of one drop of sea water gives you the qualitative analysis of the sea without any mistake. The whole discussion, what we are doing is, Prabhupada is saying to tell you, first of all, understand about your spirit soul, how it is functioning. From that, you can extrapolate and understand how God, who is the supreme soul, how he is functioning, how he is working. Right? Just like one drop of sea water, if you analyze, do chemical analysis, you will see so many qualities in that one drop of water. Right? Similarly, if you do from this we can derive the understanding of how big the ocean, whole ocean is. Similarly, the ordinary living being is part and parcel of God. So by analyzing the living beings, we can begin to understand God. The whole point is the modern day thinkers, philosophers, scientists is actually missing this important point of the existence of soul, and soul's origin is from super soul, Supreme Lord Krishna. That point is missing. Right? If we analyze ourselves, we are all sample gods, small gods, then you can understand there is Supreme God, who is the source of all these entities. In God, there is a great mystic potency. God's mystic potency is working swiftly, exactly like an electric machine. Right? His mystic potency is so wonderful and automatic that in electric machine, what happens? There are so many components. Looks like one button you press, so many things are happening one after other. Machines operate by certain energy, and they are so nicely made that all the work is done simply by pushing a button. Right? So many arrangements are there. Wonderful arrangements are there. The mechanical arrangements with the engineering understanding. Likewise, Lord has made this whole world so wonderfully that to know all these explanations are given in the scriptures. How this whole world is working by the Lord's potency. That we have to understand them. We have to go through them. Otherwise, simply blindly telling no by nature. Behind nature, there is Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is directing the whole nature. Similarly, God said, let there be creation, and there was creation. And these details of how creation happened is all explained in Bhagavad Gita and scriptures, Bhagavata. So, Prabhupada says, considering in this way, the workings of nature are not very difficult to understand. God has such wonderful potencies that the creation on his order alone immediately takes place. Right? God is omnipotent, and just by his willing, things will happen. Whereas in our case, we are so small, we can only will, but with our will, things will not happen. We have to actually work, we have to move forward things, because we are all small entities. Just like, the ants are so small that they are carrying one grain of sugar, and from one corner to other corner to take them, it will take so much time for them. Whereas we as humans, we think, oh, we can just take 1 kilo of sugar within no time with our hands. Because it means the power is so much difference is there. The ant will be thinking, oh, this human is so omnipotent. So likewise, we have to understand God's power is like that. Right? So we have to, when you understand the workings of nature, you can see how wonderfully Krishna has arranged things. Right? So we'll continue our discussion further in our next session. So meanwhile, if anybody is to ask, discuss of what we discussed today on the topics, we can take up any questions or comments.
Prabhuji, very interesting topic today.
Yes,
Lot
yes.
of new things, lot of clarification.
Yes, yes, yes.
In fact, once I was in the hospital standing quite close to a person about to die.
Yeah.
He was being fed by pipe,
Huh.
and doctor was also there. Suddenly, the person passed away. The food started accumulating, and suddenly I saw a droplet of blood below the eye.
Yeah.
So I asked the doctor, what is this? How this blood has come? Doctor has no answer.
See?
It's a very droplet, very small. So
Yeah.
what you mentioned today, 1,000, 1/10 or 10,000 times of the tip of the hair.
Yes, yes.
So
That is the soul
really,
within our body, and we are not able to
yeah,
realize the power of that unlimited power. The soul is so powerful; it's animating
yeah,
the
very
whole
true,
body.
very true,
Soul is
very true,
out; his body is useless. Prabhupada says you can
very
cut,
true,
chop it, no protest.
very true,
So that's how
very
it is.
interesting.
So we have many such discussions going on. Rather, we'll have more things in this particular discussion which Prabhupada is going to reveal to us. Right?
Right, very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Fine then. So we
Hare
close
Krishna.
here. Thank you, everybody. Jai Shri
Thank
Prabhupada.
you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.